Welcome to the channel. I'm Dave Sears. For today's episode, I'm visiting John Casanave at his shop in Port Alberni, BC, Canada. John has a new Challenger logging truck build going on behind me, so this is a great opportunity to check out one of these big trucks. We'll look at the features and innovations that differentiates Challenger trucks from the competition. How are you doing today, John?
Oh, terrible, but it'll get worse.
Well, you're a man, I hear a few words, so...
Yes, I am.
Well, that's good. Hey, I saw a real cool-looking picture of your first truck. It was painted in blue and white.
Right?
And it had a Canal Transport
Yeah,
logo
that was
on it.
a trucking company we had with Hayes Pacifics and Kenworth in the competition trucks, because I wasn't building them yet. And so it was what we hauled all our logs in was Canal Transport.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And that was the first Challenger, though,
Yeah,
right?
we had a fairly big logging outfit at that point. And anyway, my partner ran the logging end, and I took care of the trucking end. And then I lost a son in the logging outfit, and I didn't want to log anymore. And to get over it, I thought I'd follow my dream, which was to build my own brand of trucks. So I sold the logging outfit that I was running and went to Vancouver and bought a drafting table. This was 1986. And came home and sat down in my shop here all by myself up in the office, small office up there, set up that table, and in probably 2 or 3 months, I developed the drawings necessary to build the truck. And
nice, that's great. And my condolences to you about your son. That must have been a hard thing.
oh, it was.
Wow.
He was just 20 years old, and he'd been out there getting close to 3 years. He was like me. He wasn't good in school.
Yeah.
And so we let him quit in grade 11. I actually made it to grade 12 without failing, but I just skinned my way along. And then my dad kept me out of school from 10 years old to drive tractor on the farm. And I'd miss 2 or 3 weeks in the spring and 2 or 3 weeks in the fall to plow and plant in the spring, and then to harvest the potatoes in the fall. And I'd be driving tractor. I got a tractor for my 9th birthday.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And anyway, so I didn't have the best chance in school, but I wasn't that interested in school. I never took homework home. So I got to grade 12 without, taking homework home or all this.
Right, yeah. So that, and then you got your plans done, and then you got your first truck in what, made in 1987 or something? Is that about right, or 86?
Yeah, in the spring of 87. I designed it in 86, and then I actually built it in the first 4 or 5 months of 87.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was right here in the shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
then I took it to, we'd sold that logging outfit. I took it down to the logging outfit my partner was running, which was McMillan Bodell Logging Company at Franklin River, just south of Port Alberni.
Oh,
A big camp. They had 25, 30 trucks there at least.
Wow, that's a lot, yes.
And I went down there and drove it myself, just like that, didn't warn them or anything, just went down there and started driving, and sold one of the Pacific trucks because we didn't really need another truck.
Right.
So I sold one of the Pacifics that we had, and put mine to work, and then built the second one and took it to the Loggers Convention in Vancouver the next Christmas. So 1 year later, from the start, 1 year later, it was at the Loggers Convention.
And that was right out on the street. I saw a picture of that, right? And you had a trailer and a few logs put in it or something like that?
Oh, that was another year.
That was a different year.
Yeah, we went about 10 years in a row.
Oh.
And when I brought it back from Vancouver at the Loggers Convention, the Pan Pacific Hotel, I went down to pick it up because I delivered it down to the Pan Pacific Hotel. The CPR ferry is right below. So you don't even need a permit. Just drive down a ramp and you're there where the ferry brings it back to Nanaimo. So I did that, and they put it on when they're ready to take it. And then they phone me up when it's in Nanaimo, ready to be picked up and brought home. And they phoned me up a day or so later and said, come on down to Nanaimo and bring your truck home. And I was going down and I thought, you know, all the big shots that own logging outfits and stuff are there. But until the master mechanics in the various logging camps and the drivers have had a little chance to drive it or look it over, whatever, study it, you haven't really accomplished what you want to do, is get it known out there as quick as possible. So I decided not to bring it home, and I took it to Souk down at Victoria, the lowest southernmost logging camp there is in British Columbia. And I just drove it in there unannounced. And I said, I'm giving you this truck for a week, and I'm going to ride with the driver the first day to show him all the differences so he'll understand and get to know all the differences. And then he'll show them to all the other people. And then after the week, I'll come down on Saturday, bring it up to Cowichan Lake, do 2 different companies there, then Chemainus, do McMillan Bloedel there, then Courtney, Campbell River, all camps all the way to the top end of the island, out to Brooks Bay. And then I brought it down through the middle of the island because I'd gone up the inside of the island. And I brought it down the middle of the island and did Canadian Forest Products and Gold River, and brought it home, and I said, I'll never bother anybody again.
That's quite a sales trip you had there. Wow.
A lot of those people ended up buying a truck eventually, or 2 or 3 trucks, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think it hurried things up. Otherwise, it takes forever, you know, because people hear that somebody's building a truck and they finally get to see it a year or 2 later, and they don't really get a chance to study it, because they just go somewhere to see it. Yeah. And, you know, so I think it was the right thing to do, and it certainly did sell me some trucks.
Right, got your truck out there, yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw a painting of your truck, and it was a little bit different because it had your yellow and green colors, and then it had a McMillan Bloedel machine in the background. So you sold it, I guess, in that color to McMillan Bloedel.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, I see. And then they just put their
name on the door.
Yeah.
And then about 5 years later, they couldn't stand any longer, so they painted it red and white.
So they got
their colors.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they were very supportive of me. Like the driver that got that first truck in Franklin River, he wrote about the truck quite a bit, and he was very supportive he liked the truck. Well, the water tank holds water to cool the brakes coming down the mountain, and this water tank holds 530 gallons. On the front of it, bolted onto the front, is a diesel tank for the fuel of the engine, and that's 150 gallons. And then the platform up above with plywood on it, that's where a man goes up while getting loaded. A man goes up and guides the loader operator on the big machine that's picking up the logs and throwing them on the load. And he can tell him where to put the logs if he can see something that the loader man can't see from the cab of the loader. And anyway, that's sort of what that's all about.
So you're saying this is a bigger capacity than the other trucks?
It is.
Oh yeah, so
it is.
500 and the other guys
530 gallons, and I think the other ones are maybe 400 and a quart or something like that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then same with the fuel tank. What I noticed with all the other trucks we had, we always try to get a big day's work done. So what we found was with the other trucks, there wasn't enough fuel for the whole day. So when we're going back for the third load, and it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're empty and starting back. It might take an hour to get back there. And we've got to stop at the fuel pump and put some fuel in, just 20, 30 gallons, because there won't be enough to go there, get the load, and come back to camp, and we'll be dumping it tomorrow morning because the dump will be closed by the time we get back at 5 o'clock or so to camp. Yep. And we still have a ways to go down to the dump. So I made a bigger tank so that we're never having to stop when time is precious. It's getting towards the end of the day, and if we're going to get another load on this truck, we haven't got time to stop and put some fuel in the darn thing.
So that did the trick, the extra capacity. Oh, great, yeah. And you were saying they had some safety walkways or ladders on this too on the tank?
Well, these are ladders right here, and then we have nice platforms, those gray things on the ground there, on the floor. The gray things, they're not painted yet.
Oh, yes.
Those are platforms that go underneath here and are bolted on, so you have a walkway around.
Okay, right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this, you were saying one of the features of this tank is that it's hinged and it can be...
That's right, it's hinged.
So
it's the only tank on a truck that I have ever known of that is hinged. And the reason for that is if you have a big Allison transmission in the truck and you have to take it out to be fixed, you have to take the Allison down to the ground, and it's not handy to do because the water tank is above it. And with it being hinged here, you just remove a couple of big U-bolts and you can pull this water tank right over backwards, and it'll be out of the way with enough room to drop a hook down and lower the transmission or raise it out of there.
Gotcha, yeah. And
so the reason we have all these things is because I spent so many years driving them and fixing them. And that's how you really learn what they're missing.
That's right,
you know
yes.
What I mean?
Oh,
yeah,
for sure,
what they're
yeah.
missing.
No, those are great features. So we see.
And look at the steps there, how wide they are. Because a man is coming down from up there when the load is on, and he's got a power saw in one hand. He's only got one hand to hold on with, and he's fishing for a little 6 or 8 inch wide step on most water tanks.
Yes.
Look what we've got.
Yeah, those are much better.
You can find them with your foot without seeing them. You're coming down backwards and holding on, and you can fish around and find them easily because they're that wide.
Gotcha, yeah. So this, where do these hinges go on the truck?
Pardon?
Where does this hinge onto the truck? Let's go
See
over there.
those black pockets just back, a foot back from the cab?
Let's go take a look. Go right here, yes.
These pockets? Well, the front of the water tank sits in there, and see there's a doubler welded on here already and painted, and the hinge is welded onto this.
Okay.
Yeah, so it goes right back over to the bunk back here, you see?
Gotcha, so it hinges backwards and then you can get in.
That's right. The grill guard is hinged right here. This is part of the hinge, okay? And there's side pieces come back here to support the grill guard in case it gets hit in the front. And one bolt here and one bolt on the other side, which comes out very easily. And now you can let the grill guard down and it becomes a platform out here. Flat. And you can stand on it, back a pickup truck to it or whatever, and take out the radiator, or the shutters or whatever you want to take out. Okay?
Gotcha. And then you're saying this is a removable bumper too. I see some
That's right.
giant bolts here.
Okay. Also, let's talk about the fenders. The fenders are hinged here. It's the only truck where the fenders are hinged. None of the others were hinged. And all you do is remove out 2 bolts back there. And now you can lift this fender over center until the headlight here is touching down on the bumper.
Okay.
So they're like this out here. Out of the way. Now you can go in and get comfortable and sit on the tire, put your feet in on the springs.
Yeah.
And the motor is wide open to you.
Great.
And also we have the hood up there, which you could take a picture of. It's a power hood. You can see the power thing up there.
Oh yes, a big strut.
It's the only one where it's a one-piece hood. All the other trucks have 2 hinges, and there's a piece of about 2 feet wide in the center that doesn't go anywhere. It stays down there, and it's always in the way. It's right on top of the motor. And what you do is you lift up this side and flop it over to the other side, or you put this side down and you lift up the other side and flop it over. This way, the hood goes right up out of your way and you can walk right over that motor.
Wow.
Right?
So that's handy for sure. Yeah.
Now, if you want to take the engine out, what you do is you flip up both fenders. That takes no time at all. You take out the bolt on each side that's holding the grill guard up, but you don't put the grill guard down, you leave it standing. Then you hook on here with a shackle and over there with a cable, okay?
Yeah.
And you hook on with whatever you're going to lift with. If you're in a shop, you've got a lift like I've got here. But if you're not in a shop, you can use a front end loader or a forklift or anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, you flipped up both fenders. You have the grill guard bolts out back here, but it's still standing. And now you tighten up on this thing, just tighten up on it. And then you take an air wrench and you knock out, wind out these 5 big cap screws on each side here. And here goes the bumper, the grill guard, and the 2 fenders in about really half an hour or less. Yeah, half an hour or less.
Oh, so those are cap screws, not bolts and nuts.
The nuts are in the back, welded in all cases.
Nice.
In every one I talked about, the fenders, the grill guard, and the here, so that you don't need 2 men. You just can do it all yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, because all the nuts are welded in the back, and they're all deep nuts. You know, deep nuts are about twice as thick as a regular nut.
Okay.
So they're way stronger. Anyway, so here goes the bumper, the grill guard, the 2 fenders in 20 minutes, half an hour. You park it out there somewhere out of the way, put it on the ground, let go of it. Now you come back in, and your engine and transmission, if it's standard transmission, is on an inner frame sitting inside the bottom of the big frame.
Gotcha. I'm going to go see if I can take a quick look at that, what you're talking about.
No, I don't think you can really see it under there, but you might. It's sitting right.
It's got its own frame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the radiator is on that frame. The engine front and rear mounts are on that frame. And if you've got a standard transmission, it's on that frame too. And the whole thing slides right out the front. Okay, this thing goes in and out about 3 feet. And when you load the truck, you make sure it's right in. And other trucks have a pin that goes in here, you put in, and it guarantees that it's right in. When you get the load on, you pull this pin out And now the load of logs sitting on the trailer and the truck actually pulls the load of logs. The logs pull the load, the trailer, down the road. This doesn't, because this can slide in and out. So how could it pull anything? Look at this. See?
Right.
So
on a normal logging truck, you said you had to grease this or whatever. What were you talking about there?
that's right. Every day you have to pull it right out and lather it up with grease gun grease and turn it, rotate it a few times, push it back in. It's good for the day. With us, we're the only ones that do this. We don't use steel on steel bushings, which the others all do. We use plastic bushings, UHMW or whatever.
That's a Teflon?
Yeah, and we put a 1/3 fill this tank here with old engine oil when we change oil. So every day you don't have to worry about this. Just check it maybe once every couple of weeks to stick a stick down here and make sure that there's about 1/3 of oil down here in the bottom, because it's splashing back and forth. Right. And there's a bushing here about 6 inches long, and then there's nothing. So the tube that wants to come in and out is bare, and the oil is splashing as goes down the road. And then there's a 6-inch bushing up here at the front, see?
Right.
But nothing in the middle. So the oil is always lubricating away, splashing around with 1/3 oil in here. Gotcha. It'll be running back and forth.
So that's a lot easier than having to grease that thing up every morning.
Well,
and
yeah.
all that.
So, and the point is, it's slipperier than hell.
Yeah.
If you park this thing at night on a downhill slant, which often is the case with a truck, they'll have a spot for you to park empty. The trailer's up on top of the truck, and the back of the truck is a little low. And in the morning, the air will have bled off, which keeps this hook up and keeps it locked forward, which is where you want it to load the next day. So the air bleeds off at night, and the hook falls down, and this will have walked right out to the end here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
But this is the compensator lock then, and that's activated by what you're saying, air from the cab.
Air from the cab, air from the air system.
Gotcha. So that's instead
Through
of
a
having
little tiny switch.
Okay.
You know, right beside when you're sitting in the cab. So when you get your load on and you're ready to take off down the road with a load on, you just flick this little switch and the hook falls down, because it's quite a heavy hook. And it falls down, and now this is ready to go in and out. Now, when it's going straight down the road, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay in, just like this.
Yeah.
But when you go around a corner, this is terribly long from here to the center of the, between the two axles. So the idea of that is that this swings over this way when you turn that way.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the load is pulling the trailer, so the load ends up going across the corner. It's half off the road.
Right.
It's across the corner.
Yeah.
Until you straighten out again. Then it ends up right behind you again.
Right.
So when it goes around the corner, this back end, because you swung the truck that way, this back end moves way over here.
Yeah.
And you've got a steel pole coming up here from the trailer, hooked on here. It has to come out.
And that's why they
and
call
then it has to go back in when you straighten out again.
Gotcha.
Oh, it's doing this.
Right.
All the time you're making turns on the road.
Right.
If you're not making any turns, it'll be straight in line.
Right. And then you were saying something about it when you're doing the load too, you need to back up on that or something.
Oh, when you get your load on with the other setup that doesn't have this hook, and nobody else had this hook, eh? And what you had to do was, while you're getting loaded, often the trailer would like to pull back a little bit with the way the load is getting on, and that tightens this pin up that's in here that you want to get out when you head down the road. So your man, helper in the landing, usually call him the second loader, he walks back here, says to the driver, I'll pull your pin. Driver gets up in the cab, ready to take off and go. Driver knows he's coming back here, and he knows that probably it's tight, and the guy can't pull the pin out because there's a little bit of tension. Okay? So what the driver has to do is he puts on the trailer brakes, not the truck brakes at all, just the trailer brakes. Pulls on the handle, and that puts on the trailer brakes. And then he puts it in reverse, the truck, doesn't have any brakes on, and he lets out the clutch. So the truck's trying to back up, the trailer's got the brakes on, so it squeezes like this and gives us a little bit of slack so we can pull the pin out. And then there's a pocket here somewhere to put the pin in, because that pin isn't going back in until he gets to the dump and dumps the load. And then in order to pull the trailer ahead empty and get it picked up by the dump machine and put back on top of the truck, they've got to put the pin in. So when they get to the dump, they have to put the pin in once they take the load off, and then they can pull the trailer ahead, hook on with the dump machine, pick up the trailer, and he backs up, and they load the trailer up on the truck.
Right. So with your compensator lock,
Yeah,
you don't have to do
nobody
that.
has to do anything, because you can do it all. The driver can do it all. He just puts on the trailer brakes, backs up, and feels it stop, you know, and so he knows this is right in, and then he just flicks a little switch, and the hook comes up on air, and then I can drive ahead, you see.
Nice. That's a good feature.
These are simple things, you know. They're simple things. But I think the real problem is that if you haven't spent a few years driving these things, and fixing them doesn't hurt either,
Yes.
you know, you recognize these problems.
And
that's why when a driver designs a truck, he's got all these things in his head, like, why don't we do it this way, you know?
Yeah.
Why don't we do it this way?
Makes sense. That's great.
This is the deepest part of any frame in this type of truck. It's a middle, sort of the middle, a little more to the front, but the point is that's where they've decided it needs to be the deepest. So here is the difference in frames. This is a Hayes and Pacific truck here. This here. Notice how slim it is here. It's only 3/8 of an inch. Okay? This is a Kenworth over here. This is 1/2 inch. That's a little better. And this is Challenger. This is 5/8. Okay? Now, the other thing is, how you get strength in a frame is how deep is it? Well, the Challenger is way deeper, right? Way deeper than either one.
I see, yeah.
So not only is it thicker, it's deeper, okay? Then look up here and how thick this is. 1x7 thick, 1 inch thick. This is 1x5, but it doesn't come this way. It only goes that way. This one goes both ways. So that makes it way tougher. This one here was only 1/2, by 7, not 1 by 7. And so they put a piece of 1/2 by 5.5 on top of it for the center portion of 1/3 of the frame, because it was giving trouble. So but I just went heavier all over the place.
Sometimes you didn't put the Allison transmissions in. You preferred the manuals. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. But remember, when somebody orders a truck, you're going to build for them what they want. It's not what you want, it's what do they want.
Right.
So many people, more people than don't think my way, they want Allison transmissions.
So what do you have in this then? You said a 13-speed?
Yeah, 13-speed Road Ranger. And we never ever ran 13 speeds. It's just that I got this at a good buy, and because I'm not selling this truck, I can live with the 13-speed.
Right, and then what's back here?
A 4-speed auxiliary. And it's a big one, yeah, 9,000 4-speed auxiliary. So we have dual ram steering. So we just have double the power steering of a normal other truck. Okay? And none of the trucks, Hayes, Pacific, Kenworth, or ours, because we started with just like them, they've 1 ram steering, none of them would turn 100% in both directions. They would stall, and you weren't allowed to set up the pressure. You have an adjustment of the power steering pressure, and you're not allowed to set it higher than 1725 PSI, okay? So anyway, after building about 4 or 5 trucks, I suddenly learned that there's another setup. Same outfit, Vickers power steering that everybody's using. Come around the other side and I'll show you. So this is the side that everybody has. Now come around the other side. And just about nobody seems to have this. Look at that. The same thing again.
Ah.
So there's double the power steering.
So what engine you got in this truck, John?
A 12V71. So it's a V12 Detroit diesel.
Right.
Yeah, commonly called a Jimmy
Yeah.
engine. Eh? Yeah, Jimmy. 2-cycle Jimmy engine. Yeah. And they were trouble-free. They lived. My first brand new Pacific, I bought in 1967 when I was in Powell River for 3 years. And then I came back over here. And it lasted over 50 years, which is common. And the first V1271 lasted 23 years without an overhaul.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
So what other engines did you put in your trucks?
Oh, there was Cummins V12s, Caterpillar 6s and 12s, Cummins 6s and 12s. And what I loved, and I got into it late when I started building the Challengers, I got into it because we'd put one in a Pacific, big Pacific logging truck before we built the first Challenger. And that was a Mack V8. And boy, that thing could outrun anything on the road, and it could do it on 20% less fuel. So it was only $30,000 at that time. And I figured about every 4 years, you got a free engine from fuel saving.
With
saving the cost of fuel at 20% a day.
Wow, so that's kind of like your favorite engine after a while, then.
Oh, it was. I built the first, I think the first 5, 6 Challengers with Mack engine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then there was some people that are stubborn and they've got their own idea what they want, and you have to build what what they want. So
Right,
that's
yeah.
fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
that's
I
great.
love that bloody Mac engine. Oh my goodness, what an engine!
Good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. Well, thanks very much for spending some time showing us all your trucks, John. I really appreciate it. And maybe I can come back when you have this one built and we'll fire it up or something like that and get to see how it goes.
I'm taking my sweet time at this point, At 80, 87, pretty quick. I'm only 3 years away from 90, for God's sake. Hey?
That's good. Well, you're doing great. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks again, John.